welcome, and more welcome to y'all to another edition of Summit Hashtag Fade to Black. I am your gracious host, Donnell Lamonte Morris, back with the Queen to be. Not ain't the Queen to be, she's the Queen, ladies and gentlemen, forever and always. Ladies and gentlemen, Anita Joe, aka Teach, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Teach, I am doing just fine, just doing great. Before we continue, I do want to say this. I want to say a happy Veterans Day to all the vets out there that is serving currently, to those that are retired. Thank you for wherever for all that you have done and for all that you are currently doing. Thank you so very, very much for your sacrifice, and as well as happy Veterans Day to me as well. So, just
Yes, happy Veterans Day. Thank
thank you, thank
all
you.
servicemen and women for their service to our country.
Most definitely. And so I don't know when they're gonna do it. Probably Friday or Saturday. Y'all can get those deals, those great deals. Free pancakes and free food and all that stuff. So don't forget to take the spouse, take the kids, and enjoy yourself. You deserve it. But other than that, Teach, we got quite a show today. We kind of talked about it before we went on the air. Is about what it means to be black, because it's a very, maybe a broad question, but at the end of the day, it's I wanted to bring it to more of a personal, because I don't think people know exactly what being what black really means to them, not to a like a societal, basis. But we're gonna get into that after we do our opening statements. And since I started off last time, Teach, may you take the hold on if I can find the caption. Oh, here we go. You can take the first shot.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. My opening statement, I'm thinking about a situation in my home life where an individual works, and works some more. And I always tell this person, you can't make all the money. There are some times that you must rest. I understand the need to follow your dream, to realize your goal, but our bodies can be temperamental. If we don't take the rest, our body will say, we don't care what goal you're trying to achieve. We're going to achieve this goal, and we're going to flatline or conk out, and you're going to have to do what we say. So I'm saying all this to say that when you run hard, but at a juncture in your running, you have to make a pit stop. You have to rest and relax, refresh, and re-energize yourself just so you can go and finish your goal of working. And I speak to all of the workaholics. Um, we can find our work to be very, very fulfilling, and it gives us a high that nothing else does. It fills up our time, it brings out our creativity, and we feel optimal when we are working. We're feeling good about who we are and what we are. But above it all, we must take care of ourselves, or else sometimes I had a blooper and I said flatline. Sometimes we can flatline and that's it. So to prolong our life, make sure that we're eating fresh fruits and vegetables. Make sure that we're taking vitamin supplements, that we're detoxing our body. We detox our mind. We come out of frustrating situations and just do a whole overhaul of our health. And so it's important to be healthy in our bodies, well rested, and not in a state of exhaustion or fatigue. So, my message this morning is rest as well as work. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I yield the floor.
Um, First and foremost, I need to start doing this more often. We'd like to thank Chairboy Popcorn for sponsoring this whole entire show. 12 different flavors. Their website going to be strolling at the bottom of the show, so don't forget to check them out. Um, my opening statement is when we look up to black folks that are in power, athletes and everybody who makes a whole lot of money. So let's use Jay-Z for example. We always have a feeling or something in us that makes it seem like there is somebody behind the scenes of Jay-Z. That the reason why Jay-Z is getting money is because of the Illuminati, or the black wing of the Illuminati that is called the Boule, which people gotta understand. Boule is a fraternity, a black fraternity. And it is not the wing of the Illuminati, but I'm kind of getting off course here. We want to talk about things where we have no knowledge of. Hear me out when I say this. Now, do I believe that there are puppets amongst us that look like us? Maybe we talk like us. Maybe we come from the same neck of the woods as us. Yes. But then you actually got those that actually pay the cost to be the boss. And Jay-Z is one of them. And people want to bring up why the black people are in the same way that they are now, like they was last year. It's because of that type of thinking. They're the ones that quick to say we are the crab in the barrel mentality, but they're not realizing that they're the ones doing the pulling. Come down here with us. You know better than us. Rather than praising people like Jay-Z, praising people like Jamal Bowman, praising people that worked hard to get to where they're at, that's trying to make a difference for us, and all we can say is, oh, they're part of the Illuminati. You have to ask yourself, is it them that is holding up black progress? Or do I play a big role myself? Basically saying, or is it me? Because realize, don't pretend that you don't live in the glass house and you sitting there throwing rocks, but then gets mad when somebody throw rocks at you and you live in a glass house. And I said it like that on purpose, in case you actually missed what I was trying to say. So what I'm trying to say is we need to get out this mentality that when we got people that look like us, that makes millions of dollars, maybe even billions of dollars, living good, does not always mean that they got white handlers that give them all this money for them just to show, if you're a good boy, this is you. If you haven't been there with Jay-Z, LeBron James, Jamal Bowman, I ain't gonna use Corey Bush. You haven't been there with them from Jump Street or even know their damn story. You are just and I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat from the panel when I say this, you're just a conspiracy theorist that is still working for the man, and you hate your job and you hate your life. And to make you feel better, you just want to come up with these conspiracy theories to make you feel good, make you feel better on why I'm not a millionaire, and that I will never sell my soul to the devil when you never met the devil himself. And that if the devil did exist, you sure is doing his work. Because they did say in the Bible, the one trick that the freaking devil did to the world, it showed that he never exists. Or something like that. But basically saying that they just forget about the devil while he's doing his work. Like he never existed. So make sure and realize when you start saying these conspiracy theories about these celebrities being puppets, realize this. Number one, were you there from the jump when Jay-Z or any of these people of power? Were you there when they had nothing? Two, were you ever a millionaire or a billionaire? Or three, were you ever in the position of power? If you can answer at least 2 out of 3 questions, I will shut up. But unfortunately, a lot of y'all can't even answer one. And y'all gonna be wrapped up in those conspiracy theories for the rest of your lives to the day you die. And unfortunately, you're gonna teach it down to your kids, and then then their children, and then their children's children, and we still wonder why we can't get ahead. Only thing I gotta say after this is, come at me, bro. I said what I said. And with that, I yield the floor, and we will be right back. And ladies and gentlemen, just like that, we are back. And another thing I need to touch on before we get into the main piece of this show, we got cash apps right here. Hold on, let me go ahead and point at mine. Go ahead and point at yours, Teach, or look down at it or something like that. Our cash apps. So if you have a question that you want only one of us to ask, or if you want us to do a special request, or anything, well, not anything, just make sure it's proper. Hit us up on our Cash App. I will create a segment on the Cash App where it be one of us doing your request, whatever it is. Could, like I said, could be singing, could be a question, or it could be something that the panel members or myself would want to do for you to put in a Cash App. But other than that, a segment is coming soon. So, or if you just love us, go ahead and donate. I know we coming on Christmas, we coming on Thanksgiving. You got those crazy in-laws coming from the other side of the state that you can't stand, and I know you gotta save up. So we encourage you, please do not send your whole life savings or your whole Christmas savings, okay? Because Black Friday, as they want to call it, is coming up soon, and you gotta do a live shop. We understand. So $1 goes a long way. Can we agree on that, Teach?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm telling people don't send their whole entire Christmas savings.
Oh no,
With giving the
definitely
cash out.
not.
Like I said, $1 goes a long way. Ain't that right?
That's exactly right.
$1 goes a long way. So hit us up on the Cash App. My Cash App is right here behind my name. Scoot over here. And then teachers is right there behind her name. So let's go ahead and get into the subject. So this subject right here, just this topic came on a whim when I was driving home. What it means to be black, and a lot of people will answer that on a very broad societal spectrum on that type of basis, but they will never answer it for themselves on what it means to be black. The I won't say means, but the meaning of being black. So I'm gonna go ahead and start, and then I'm gonna let Keith. I wanted to open it up because I wanted to open it up because I'm gonna give a very unique, honest answer on how it feels for me, and then I'm gonna let Teach take the reins of it. So the meaning for me being black is finding new things about my culture. Because for me, I will never fully know or understand about being black. I'm gonna tell you why. It's because you have people like Anita Joe, aka Teach on this show, that open my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't even realize. Before I met Teach, I did not know this was a capitalist society that profited off the backs of black people. But then looking further from that, understanding that all the things that we love and that we enjoy came from black women and black men. And it still goes deeper than that. Where I can walk outside and I can walk with pride of like, I should not be ashamed of who I am. I never want to say I ever been ashamed of who I am, but it just made me even more proud and for me to understand more of my history. And it just kept my mind open to understanding new history, understanding what other accomplishments that I have not learned in school, that I have not learned in college, where I could sit next to older cats and hear their stories about how it was growing up. Now you realize I didn't mention anything about racism, segregation, and all that stuff because that's the one thing people want to bring up first. Me, I understand it. Today we live in a very passive society where the dominant society just say slavery's not happening because we don't got you in shackles and chains. But the attitude is still there. It just morphed into a modernized passive attitude where they can still not everyone, but they still got that attitude that they're better than you. And then how the society is set up, it shows you. When you go to a business or any type of establishment, how many of them are black owned businesses? How many clothing stores do you go in that has black owned clothing lines? How many ice cream parlors have you went to that were black owned? How many popcorn organizations that you go to that have black owned popcorn? See, we walk it in racism every day. And one thing I told myself is I want to stop when it comes to talking about black people and what we have done. I want to stop saying racism first. I want to stop saying that, integration fucked everything up. I can't speak on that. Why? Because I wasn't around that time. Teach can talk about that because she was around that time. But for me, in a nutshell, It's me keeping an open mind and learning more about myself, learning more of the culture, not only just African culture, but Black America, the Black American experience. And that's not talking about racism. I'm talking about the lands that we discovered, new discoveries of everything that we're enjoying today, even stuff that we're enjoying now that we didn't know that was created by Black hands. So if hopefully that didn't get confuse nobody, but and to end on this part, and then I'm gonna hand the reins to Teach. This is one of the biggest issues that I do have with the so-called pro-blacks is because they think they have it figured out what it means to be black because they got so much of this knowledge. But just like education in general, you always going to learn something new that just because you can see the roots, but the roots go deeper than what you dig. You dig it? But you got to dig deep because just because you learn something on the surface, you got to dig deep to get to the roots. And some of them, they just get stuck on the knowledge that they learn that they're unwilling to understand what led to that point. And that's why I'm here open and honest and say that I want to keep my mind like a sponge. I want to soak in all of the new information about myself and that I should not be ashamed of where I came from and how I live and how I became to be. If that makes any sense. But Chiefs, I'm going ahead and hand the reins because I feel like I'm about to go on a big going on to a rant, but I'm gonna hand the reins on to you. But mainly it's me being on the open minded.
Okay, well, you bring up a very, very, very good question of identity. How do we define ourselves? Are we black? Are we African American? Are we Africans in born in America? First, let me say that black is a color. It's not tied to any land. It has no roots. But yet, at the same time, black in this country represents diversity because within the pantheon of the color of black, you have from the lightest hues of pink or beige to the darkest of the blue black. All is considered black. And as there are multiple colors within the spectrum of blackness, there are personalities as well as experiences. And one of the first things that I learned in my journey of education that as pertaining to our blackness or our African Americanness or Africans born in America, there is not one single experience. So we all experience different things. We're not going to all think the same way, just like we all just don't look alike. We're not going to all think the same way. So you'll have some that embrace their blackness and love to be associated with their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, and their cousins, uncles, and aunties. And then you have those that want to separate themselves and not be seen or known to associate that they have a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, some cousins, uncles, and aunties that look like them. So um, that is a broad brush of diversity in itself. Now, identify as the African that is born in America. And that is how I recounsel my two selves, as W.E.B. Du Bois talked about in Black consciousness, in dual consciousness. Am I, he used the word Negro, am I a Negro or am I American? And for me, I am that African. And nationality, I am that American. So for those that associate or identify them completely in the formal sense as black, you can also see that these people, the way they live their lives, they live it without a root. Because black is a color. It's not tied to a land. It's not tied to a culture. It's not tied to a language. It is uh, very informal in nature. Uh, so you have the multiple debates on how people identify themselves. People that identify themselves as being black, American. There's some subgroups that would even say that they're not African. And even you have these newer groups springing up now that's saying that we were the original Africans or original
Mm-hmm. I
indigenous
read,
people
I
of
read,
this land. They don't call them Africans, but the
yeah,
original indigenous people. And so they're trying to create a past. They're trying to create some roots. But the fault with that is that it's just hearsay. It's just they don't have any concrete evidence. When you have roots, when you look at a tree or a plant and you dig underground, you can find those roots to that tree. So what you don't see on the surface, you definitely can find beneath. But with these theories of being indigenous and blah blah blah, you can dig, but you're not going to find any roots. They go as far as altering documents. Even they go as far, and this is a mark against them. They go as far as saying that the term maybe African American was used in 1619 or 1620 when America was not even formed until when? 1776.
1876.
Okay. So they'll go back and they'll doctor these documents saying that, these men or scholars or historians or scribes of the day use the term African American. But this is pre-America because before it was America, before it was the colonies of Great Britain, we were colonized.
Yeah,
We were up under the queen, so they would not use terms like American because that was not the corporate entity at that time. So,
nope,
a person that's not well versed and doesn't understand that you cannot alter historical documents and present them as evidence. The only thing it shows, and that's the first thing they teach you in history, if that document is altered in any way, it's totally void, regardless of what information is on there. It is totally void because it has been doctored up. So they
yeah,
pass out all these things all over the internet. Say, oh, see, they used to refer to African Americans in in 1695 or in 1705. But America was not America until 1776.
hmm and to chime in real quick, teach. They also believed that the African slave trade never happened, that the Middle Passage never happened. And
Right.
I'm like, what proof? And I've been using Brandon's name a lot on this show. You know, I can't wait till he comes back on the show. But he made one big point because he's been going at this one content creator, if you want to call him that, Dane Calloway, uh, with his content where he was based upon this white man, this white author who basically was talked about Africa and how black people lived there in the Middle Passage, and based upon his book of this white author. And that's how it became to be as the Middle Passage and all that stuff. And I was like, and I know I'm not the only one out there. When we hear new information like that, unless you are well versed in that type of studies, you'd be like, oh wow, that's very interesting. You know, at one time I almost believed it, then I had to stop and just think about it. And this is how you really do critical thinking, ladies and gentlemen. Not y'all free thinkers out there. You critically think, it's like, hold up, that makes no absolute sense. You know, how can this white man, yes, he'd been to Africa, make up a story about slavery and a ship that carried thousands upon thousands of slaves to go all the way across the Atlantic to the ports of freaking Yorktown? Like, how can you make that up? Like, where there is actual proof, ships, documentation, as you were saying, Teach, and also ports on the Ivory Coast, just off the coast of freaking Africa in general, for you to say that this was a made-up story from a white guy, from a white author. And this is why, not like I say what I say about open statement, but this is why conspiracy theories should be treated like it should be, with a grain of salt, for me. But it just blows my mind to the point where, you know, I understand. Like, I had to come over here to really see the diversity in black people. Ladies and gentlemen, when you come to a place like Seattle, because I know Seattle's not the only place, where you got somebody that can look just like me and Teach, speaking different languages, literally speaking different languages, and it's just amazed me. I'm expecting, like, you know, like, what's up, man? And only thing he hears, hey. And then when they get with their people, they start speaking their language. And it's just like whoa. So Teach, yeah, I understand that point that you was making, but it's just for me, it's great that we got diversity within our own culture, but it's like they just don't want to be known as being African or black. They would just say, like, if they were mixed, they would take that side rather than black, unless it's out of convenience. Definitely when it comes to being the aggressor. And what I mean by the aggressor is, don't let my black side come out me. You know how you joke around with your friends that are mixed with black and white? You know, the white side where they, you know, educated and all that stuff. Oh, that's your white side, ain't it? And then your black sides, when they sit there and got the cornrows and playing, you know, NFL Madden or NBA 2K3 or whatever. Oh man, that's your black side, ain't it? But it's only our convenience. And so I ain't meant to mess what you were saying up, Teach, but I just had to point that out real quick because I don't feel ashamed saying that I'm black. And I'm not ashamed to say that I don't know too much about my culture. That's why I want to keep my mind as a sponge to learn all the things that I should have learned in school. But thank goodness we got people like you on this earth that reinforce that missing knowledge that we should have been taught a long, long time ago. But go ahead. I ain't meant to,
No,
cut you off.
it's okay. We're having a good conversation of what we how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us. And it's been so much shame um, attributed to our race, or actually our races. And the reason why I said races in plural form is because one of the things that I have learned very recently, which I'm adding to my repertoire of knowledge, we tend to see our blackness as one race, but there are multiple races within the black race. And this is supported if you take a DNA test and I take a DNA test, and our test markers show that we actually come from different races. But because of slavery, the different races that came into enslavement are multiple and are many black races. But we're looked upon as one collective race, as well as the European, the Asian. They all the United States have a way of lumping all of the similar races in one category,
Hmm.
and there are multiple different races. And so I came to learn this from one scholar that was describing his own ethnic background, and he said that he is biracial. I'm like, biracial? And he named both racial groups where they both were black racial groups within his country. And the you know he calls himself mixed race. And for us, that strikes um, a different understanding of biracial or mixed race. But it opened my understanding to the different races broken down between the various ethnic groups. You may have several ethnic groups in one country, but they all have different DNA bases or DNA types or what they call phenotypes. So
Hmm.
therefore, you're going to have multiple races, but that middle passage, that washing of our individual races into one race from the Atlantic, I mean, from the African shores to the American shores, we all became this one race with a variety of color spectrum. And the color spectrum was already varied because there's different colors in Africa. I know growing up when I was a young girl, I was under the impression that all Africans are super, super dark, 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 and that only when they began to mix with the Caucasians or other races is that we got the other hues of color. But that is a great misnomer. The other hues of color exist within each race in Africa. There are some races that are extremely dark, and there's some races that are extremely light, and there's some races that's medium, like my color. And you can actually, as you travel through Africa, you know when you change region, when you begin to change the color of the people. And so when you have the people that's near the equator, you'll see that those people are dark. Okay, and you go further away from the equator, the people lighten up, as well as the same thing with the height. Like in Senegal, uh, they are known as a very tall race of people. And I remember when I was there, I was like, wow, looking up like this, talking to people, and I'm not that tall, but I don't remember being at home looking up at people like this to talk to them.
Unless you went to a basketball game.
Yeah, so we're talking about, 7 and 8 feet tall, which was normal for that race of people. And then you go to another country and, the men are shorter than you. And you're like, hi, sir, how are you?
It's
And that's normal for that race of people. So Identity is a tricky thing depending on where you were born and where you were bred. How you identify. We identify as the black people of America or the black race of America. And the fact of the matter is, for me, we are Africans in America and we do have proof. We do
Yeah.
have proof that we once lived in America. For all those individuals that one won't take a DNA test, one, two, they've never lost anything in Africa. I guarantee you, if they will allow themselves to go to Africa, somebody's going to say, "Man, you look like our neighbor down the street," or they're going to see people in America that they know was born and raised in America, and it's like it will solve the mystery that clouds their idea of being indigenous to this land. Um, Another thing that I think is a great misnomer and passage of misinformation is the notion and idea that being the indigenous people, we don't have anything to offer. And what I mean by this,
Wow.
every ancient civilization has contributed something to society. But for these indigenous people, what did they contribute to society?
Mm.
What? The markings, we should have some evidence in some form, be it the kind of food that we eat, be it processing of, I don't know, making liquor or process of medicine. We should have some type of tangible evidence and cultural trait that has transcended eras and times here in America.
This is true.
But we can't point to anything but our slave past. Now, if we're indigenous, show us through, I don't know, quilt making or how to make a cowhide out of a make a bed out of a cowhide. Show us how you preserve food. Show us something that we're still doing. That's a practice somewhere in America. But they can't show you that. They can go to the archives and get documents and doctor them and change the name and say, "See, this is evidence." No, it's not evidence. It's bastardized documents that you
Yeah.
have doctored. And I say that when we go throughout Africa, we find uh, unique items that is particular to one particular ethnic group or one particular race. A race is known for those things. So, say basket weaving. Any a particular region in West Africa has a certain method of weaving, utilizing the various grasses, straws, hays, leaves. We have evidence in South Carolina. The women from Africa brought their style of basket weaving, where the women today that still practice that craft, they still weave the same patterns that their foremothers wove while they were in Africa. That's evidence, okay? But indigenous, they don't have any evidence. Show me how you made a teepee, or show me how you made, what was your housing style? How did you make a stove? If you use fire, Did you use it with a pile of rocks or sticks? How did you make fire? Because there's something else that I had an opportunity to witness this summer is ancient cooking styles in a modern kitchen and how they would utilize certain materials and how they built that stove. And because I went to different regions, I was able to witness the cooking or the cooking apparatus from the Bamileke people to the Baganti people to the Bamoon people to the Bassa people. Each one of them had a unique style of lighting that fire and
Mm,
how they arranged the stove. And when I mean stove, I mean how they put that pile of wood together,
mm,
what type
mm,
of wood they used to fuel that fire. So these are cultural evidence that have been handed down from generation to generation. Now the Bugatti people don't burn the fire the same way the Bamoon people burn the fire.
mm.
So again, where can we go in the United States and find evidence of these indigenous people who simply cooking and preparing food? What did they eat? What did the indigenous people eat? How did they eat it? What did they plant? Tell me all these things. Except for, oh, we came here before the Europeans did. Well, okay, if that is true, the Europeans certainly moved you off said land, which I don't know what land that was, and took over. As indigenous people, you were dominated and shoved aside, and the Europeans totally controlled that history because they don't mention you at all.
Not in one bit, and
They
not to
do
mention,
mention the Native Americans. Now, they may
yeah,
not tell all of the truth, but they do mention that they killed up the Indians to possess the land.
right.
They do mention that.
That is
They
true.
do mention those indigenous people. So, and we have evidence from those indigenous people, their ancient practices of being one with the environment, only taking from the environment what's necessary to be used, not over taxing the environment.
Mm,
We have different styles of uh, colors, different styles of weaving together fabric, different ways that they utilize the cowhide or the buffalo hide. They use it to make the teepee. They use it to make shoes. They use it to make handbags. They use it to make coats. They use it to make quilts. All of these are evidence of their presence and cultural habits that's been passed on to the current generation. And they have the language. They have their language that they're fighting to keep their language relevant because they were dominated. This is America and you must speak English. So they're fighting to keep their cultural language intact. Now, for these people that's talking about this indigenous stuff, what groups have formed to keep the language going? And why don't you have your language? Now we know in the case of the enslaved African that there were laws and there were penalties for Africans to speak their native language and it was beat out of them. But for the indigenous people, why did you give up your language?
right. And
These
we,
are the questions that you have to ask when people They made it's just false rhetoric, and to the untrained ear, oh, that man sounds good. Oh, that lady sounds good. That, yeah, yeah, we were the original indigenous people here. Okay, so what was the name of your ethnic group? Okay, give us one word, because even with the African history, we have several words that we use um, every day. In the case of Angola, it was the people of Angola, the Kibundu people that spoke Owundu, okay, that came the first Africans in America. And they brought with them what's called the Nguba,
Mm.
which is the peanut. And it was planters that had the candy called the goobers. The goobers is the Nguba. And what is goobers but a chocolate covered peanut? So we still use it. Every time we ask for a goober candy, we're using a Wundu language. So that's tangible culture that not only we brought from Africa, but the Americans at large is using that word to describe that chocolate covered peanut. So every
And
time you go buy a box of goobers, you're using Urundu language.
and with that being said, we're going to take a commercial break, but you probably realize what's been strolling at the bottom, and it sounds familiar because Teach's segment is named after that because it is her foundation. She her foundation is a, I won't say it's a nonprofit, correct? You know what, Teach?
It's a nonprofit.
I think it's better that you explain your organization. I know you did in the show like many moons ago, but go ahead and explain it again.
Okay. I am the executive director and founder of the African Roots and Heritage Foundation. And we are an organization that truly believes that we should celebrate our heritage while confronting the challenges of being Black in America. And we are a nonprofit organization, and we believe in helping ourselves. In this past September, in helping ourselves, we held what we call the Global Day of Community Service, where we raised money to provide technology to a rural school in Bosco, Cameroon. And we provided 25 tablets and 5 Wi-Fi routers so that this school could come online and continue to be competitive with the other children of their age around the world. And it's important. My heart is for Africa. And when I speak of Africa, I mean me, myself, and I, wherever I dwell, be it in America, be it in Jamaica, be it in the Bahamas, we are African, okay? And so um, the foundation was created to share culture, to bring Africans from around the world together to look at ourselves and find ways to help ourselves. So, if you feel inclined, if you understand the role that I'm playing in helping ourselves, we at the African Roots and Heritage Foundation would definitely be glad to receive your donation to help our mission. You can't do it alone. I need your help. We need your help. Ourselves need our help. And this is how we help one another, by giving a donation. And this PayPal link, you can click and you can give a one time donation, or you could even sign up to give a monthly donation. No amount is too small, no amount is too great. And also, if you don't want to do the PayPal, you can do the Cash App, It's still in the name of the African Roots and Heritage Foundation, but the dollar sign Anita Diop um, is is the handle. But if you do the donation, it'll come in the African Roots and Heritage Foundation. And I thank you in advance for watching and enjoying. And this is a way that you can participate. This is a way that you can help. Even you can have suggestions. I have people asking me to come to Uganda. So they have a school over there, and they have identified a school for us to participate. And I believe I'm thinking about it very heavily. I'm doing a event next year. So if you want to be a part of that, go ahead and donate and help us help ourselves.
Now, remember the last time Teach had something. I think it was with the donations for the routers and the tablets. We did it before, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it again. And with
Yeah.
that, when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation, but we're going to be talking more of entertainment culture on what it means to be black, because we know that media have really blurred that line. So we're going to get a little bit deeper when we come back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, update on Off the Clock podcast. Currently, right now, with Mr. Jones with Cheddar Boy Popcorn, he's been very busy. So, right now, the show is going to be on hold for now, but I promise you, we will be right back, and we will keep updating you on when the show is going to re-air. So, we're not off. We're just off. So I just want to give y'all that update on Off the Clock podcast. So now let's go ahead and continue on with this conversation. And then cannot wait to do this. Go to Teach's segment 2 as well. So we're not going to stay too much on this. I just missed doing your segment, Teach, to tell you the truth. So, but yeah, so let's go into the world of entertainment, where what's this saying goes where illusion imitates art or something like that. Sorry if I mixed that up, because reason why I bring up entertainment is it does put us in this image crisis with what it means to be black and what black looks like, quote unquote. You got gangster movies, you got you got gospel. I call them gospel movies, and I'm not mainly talking about Tyler Perry because there was movies that was like Tyler Perry before Tyler Perry. You got I already said gangster. I already said gospel movies, and what other movies? Comedies where you got a lot of satire, you got a lot of jokes about running jokes with us that's going on that put us in a very bad light, even though it's funny, but still. Um, what do you say to all of what you? I'm not saying that you watch a lot of TV, but what that you have watched of this generation? What do you think contribute to what have us having a crisis on our culture and what we should be, what we are, and what we do, and all that stuff? Anything in that aspect for our own culture.
Well, I um I believe that we've lost control of the family. Your family is your first teachers, but it seems that television influence us against our family. And the family has to compete with the television regarding values. And instead of holding to family values, it's like, oh, but I seen it on TV and they can do that in their household, so I'm going to ascribe to this. And I think that we lost control of family identity. There was a time that people prided themselves with being, I'll use my family name, a Bartell or a Newkirk or a Hankerson. These names and the various regions strike respect, a call for respect. Bartels is known as the Bartell cartel. That's what they call it themselves. And if you lived in Detroit, then you would know and understand.
You
Yeah,
know
these
exactly.
people are the movers and shakers of our city.
Mm.
The same thing with the Newkirks. The Newkirk men, they have a reputation, being handsome, being good providers, and taking care of their households and so forth and so on. The people cared about that. But now people don't care about a family name. It's all about individualism. And when you are individual, that's going back to not having any roots. You're just out there by yourself. Um, I I've heard these young entertainers feel that they have no responsibility to how they influence their fans or their public base. And they feel disconnected from the power that they actually wield in their celebrity. I think that's the simplest way to put it. They feel disconnected. They feel disconnected from it. They don't own it. But in the 60s, the 70s, celebrities own their power. They use their power to direct a social change. And that's what art is all about, is making a social change. I wrote a book on Catherine Dunham, and she was the mother of American modern dance. And she used her celebrity to make a social change throughout the United States and throughout the world. As a young dancer artist, Um, in her days in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, she was well sought after. But as an African American, she couldn't book a hotel. She couldn't, she took a steamship over to Europe. She had to sleep in the border room after paying for a first class ticket. So, because of the conditions that was set out in her life, and when she realized her power and her celebrity, she began to break down those racial barriers uh, for us. We enjoy it. We can go get on a cruise ship, pay for a first class room, and be seated or, admitted into that room. We can go to any major theater and buy the highest ticket, and we can sit in that seat. It's people like that understand their celebrity, that actually use their celebrity or use their art for a social transformation. The young people today, they're disconnected from their power, and they don't feel any um, that they owe their fan base anything. And so what you have is misguidance, a misuse of power, people making reckless statements, and their fans or fan base act upon their reckless statements to their own demise. Now, each party has to be responsible, but the greater weight relies on the person that's wielding the power. So it's just like, for me, it's just like, you remember the cartoon character Bam Bam, who
Hmm.
was Barney Rubble's little baby, but he
Hmm.
was stronger than he should have been as a little child. So he handled everything very roughly, bam, bam. And
Yeah.
so you have these entertainers just like Bam Bam. They have more power and strength than they know, and they don't know how to handle it. So whatever they hit with a big hard hand. But then they detach themselves from the responsibility of any negative outcome. And then at the same time, if there's a positive outcome, of course, yes, I said that. So they're not attached to their power. They don't recognize the power that they have to use for social justice or social change. And then there are artists that try to use their platform, but they're just still not strong enough. They don't have that impact. They're more like a pebbles. They're more like pebbles, and they don't have the power that they imagine, and that's I mean it just happens.
and teach you can't be you can't be more right than what you just said there, because all things that I was going to say, you basically just said it right there. I think that this new generation, well, majority of them are misguided. We kind of talked about it from the last show, what happened at the Travis Scott uh, show, which I'm hearing more people saying that what happened was all his fault. And now you start to hear people say, well, it wasn't his fault. He's a celebrity, and, he can only do so much. And I'm like, think to myself, no, there's a lot that he could have done to, to avoid all of what happened. Definitely wherever he was at. CNN showed one clip of him. He was on one of those big scaffold things, or claws, whatever they want to call them, and he said, "Hey, help that person out." But then he continued on jamming, which he had a history of doing at his concerts, as Beast alluded to from the last show. Also, I believe that's karma for what he said years ago when he said that, I'm not into the Black Lives Matter, or he was saying that all lives matter rhetoric. And people don't understand the spirit of our ancestors is real. And I think it was time for him to get his wake up call, or as we all like to call it, he got his nigga wake up call. You may be dating a Jenner or Kardashian, it still does not take you away from any type of scrutiny. It does not take away whatsoever. And so, yeah, and it just blows my mind to the point where people think, and this is where I talk about the individualism, the self-reliant, this, you know you depend on self. You don't expect nothing from the government. I hear what you're saying, but these are the problems that you run into when you get as teach. You probably heard this a long time ago when you were small from your parents. I still heard it. Was this saying, "Don't get too big for your britches." And there are guys that are in a position of power that are getting too big for their britches because now I'm making this much money and I got so many of these fans that nobody can touch me. I can say, do whatever. And then things like this happen. Go ahead, teach.
One, uh, that was the first time I ever heard of this person, Travis Scott. Still don't know what he looks like. But since then, different people have been asking, who is this Travis Scott person? So there's a
I
lot of
got
people who just don't know who he is. And this is the person I was asking the question is in that age range that would know who he is. And he
you. Right.
asked, who is this person? We never heard of him before this tragedy, you know. And so
Mhm.
that made me think that he may have a particular following.
Yes, I will say that. Yes, majority of his
He has a particular following,
yeah,
and
his
but it still comes down to in this particular situation, he did not realize the power of his word. He did not realize the power of his celebrity, and he doesn't. From what I understand, he doesn't want to take responsibility for the actions of other people, which is their responsibility. It's a two-way street. But he kind of opened the door. It's kind of like that Trump thing on January the 6th. Like,
oh
it's kind of the same thing. I forgot what Trump said. Stand down and be ready or
oh
something.
yeah,
I
it
don't
said,
know what
said
he
it
said.
said stand back and stand by, and people say no, that wasn't racist. You know exactly what the hell he meant. It's like
Yeah,
stop it.
and so and then the other command that he gave for them to go and storm the White House.
Hmm.
He he wasn't responsible for what the people did, and it's a
Yeah.
two-way responsibility. But he opened up that door. There, for
Right.
me, he opened up that door. He may not have said, "Go take over the White House, and we're going to commit treason, and we're going to have a coup." He
Right.
didn't say those words, but what he did say gave the people the incentive to do just that. And
Right.
then even I remember um, when he was running against Hillary Clinton, a person I was working with, he was saying that he was part of a militia and they were waiting for the election results so they could start a civil war. So there's segments of people in our society that live and breathe for contention. They live and breathe, and they're practicing, um, strategies
Hmm.
and they're just waiting for that signal. So when that signal went out and those people stormed the Capitol, I don't feel, they stormed the Capitol. Why would they do that? No, the man told me that they was ready to do that. He told me,
You're
he
right,
told me
Teach.
that they were ready to do it. So for me, just working with Joe Blow, we're just working, doing our little jobs for a little paycheck, and just between customers conversation, I'm proud of Militia, and the election don't go right, we got our people stationed and ready to start the next civil war.
Crazy.
And the next civil war didn't happen because they realized storming the Capitol, that was just a Civil War reenactment in their mind that they always wanted to participate in. But when it came to real life, it's like, oh, this is like really real, and we really don't have a real reason to have a war. So let's
Hmm.
just drink
Yeah,
moonshine and have some fun.
that's true.
Let's just steal some stuff and, you know, chalk it up. It's a day in the life in America.
That's true. And with that, Teach, we know what this is a conversation we need to continue on Friday. So, ladies, we're gonna continue this conversation. Definitely on the entertainment side, and that Beast he couldn't make it on the show today. That I know for sure he's gonna be on the show. He's gonna have his questions and what he feels and about the meaning of being black. Now, I'm so happy to do this. Teach, it is time for us to get our passport, get our ticket, because it's time to go to Africa. Oh, I've been dying to sit there for a long time. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get on this plane because Teach is about to take us to Africa.
Meyegiba. Hello. How are you? I had a very, very interesting trip this summer. And I want to talk about the first part of it. I was invited to the African Union for the official launch of the African Languages Week. And why this was so significant is that the African Union currently operates with five different working languages. And those languages are English, French, Portuguese, Arabic, and German. Now, this is the African Union. Tell me what's missing. Of course, the African language itself. So, the reason why this particular meeting was so important was one, as a member of the sixth region, the African Union always try to have a representative from all six regions. And I had worked with the ALCALAN, which is the African Academy of Languages, for several years now. So I was appointed as the ambassador to ALCALAN, representing the sixth region of the United States of America to the African Union. And so that was a feather in my cap, a new crown for me, and a great blessing. And so I'm going to try to pull up a little list that I made. This meeting took place in Burkina Faso. If you give me just a second, I'm going to find a Okay. I'm going to need my glasses. I'm going to find some words that I want to share with you by the Burkina Faso people. Okay, there it is. Okay. In the Burkina language. Okay. Mosi. Mosi is a person. Mosai are the people. Moray is the language. So the people of Burkina Faso, specifically the Mosai people, and if you want to address one person, you would say Mosai. And their language is Moray. Now, they taught me how to say hello. And this is how you say it. And I want you to pronounce it with me. I'm going to pronounce it to the best of my ability. Ne ye biogo. That means hello, how are you? Ne ye biogo. Hello, how are you? Now they have a breakdown of how you say hello between 7 a.m. and noon. Okay, so hello makes a difference depending on what time of day it is. And you would say ne sur ne. If it's between 7 a.m. and noon, when you greet a person, you would say ne sur ne. And if it's noontime, you would say ne yungo, ne yungo, if it's at noon. And then if it's at nighttime and you want to say hello, you say ni readable, ni readable. Um, then it says have good food. So I guess if you're eating or they come to your house during dinner time, they will say ne tu uma, ne tu uma. And when a person is thirsty and they want to drink or they want to offer you a drink because a person has died, okay? You know, when death hits a person, it's normal for that person to not want to eat or drink, and that person becomes weak. But in the Mosaic people, within the Mosaic people, if a person is suffering or grieving a death, you want to say ne koyudu, ne koyudu, which means have a drink. I'm going to give you something to drink because you have lost a loved one. And then after the whole day is over and you finish your talking and your pleasantries, you say win natas. Win natas, which means goodbye. Win the task. Win the task. And then the last thing, um, when you want to give a person a blessing and you say, God help you to reach where you are going, you say, Winna wiga taba. Winna will good taba. Now that one is a little tricky, but you want to say, God help you to reach where you are going. And when someone gives you something or you feel appreciative, you want to say barka. Barka means thank you. Barka, thank you. Barka. So I will say unto you, when natas, when natas, which means goodbye, and baka, thank you for listening in on this segment of African Roots and Heritage Study Travels.
Hopefully, Teach, I didn't cut you off too early. Hopefully, I didn't. I apologize if I did that time. So it's been a while since we did a final thought. So my final thought is this: it's going to be a continuation of this conversation for Friday. Um, Beast will be live on the show. We miss you, Beast. Good grief! I think you probably got other things going on, but hopefully he will be. Not hopefully, I know he will. He will be there on Friday. I know probably after this show, he probably gonna do an episode of Face and Bake. So I just want to let y'all know it's an update that I need to let y'all know about the Wet Network. We talked about it before the show that I'm happy to announce that we not only have 3 owners now, we have increased that number to 4. I realized that we had too much testosterone on the higher echelon. So Teach, Anita Joe, will officially be an owner of the Wet Network herself. This is going to be great. This is going to be big. And I know that with her guidance and her tutelage, you know, she will also bring more women into. I'm not saying that that was not goal in the first place, but I know that she will definitely guarantee that will be more women content creators also in the Wet Network, and then also to bring more of a thinking, educational, definitely when it deals with Africa and African Americans in general, type content creators and content. And not to mention to have her own show too as well. So that's my final thought. Teach, welcome to the ride. And ladies and gentlemen, Wet Network is still on the in the works, but I'm telling you, I am close, this close of getting the platform that we're going to be issuing, be doing the Wet Network, and I'm telling you, it's 10 times better. The Loud fell through. Sorry about that, but this one's even better than the Loud. Trust me. Have faith in your boy. The Wet Network will be up soon. Just happy to have Teach as one of the owners of the Wet Network. And with that, y'all have a once again salute to all the vets out there who have served or who is currently still serving. Thank you, battle buddies. Thank you, Marines. Thank you, airmen. Thank you, navalmen. Thank you, Coast Guards. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you. Enjoy your free meals. I wish I had probably on Friday if I can find areas or locations near you that are serving free food and all that stuff. I will look for that on Friday so y'all can go to those places and enjoy your free meals. You deserve it. And you deserve everything that day, from a shake hand, hug, free beer, whatever. You deserved it. You worked for it. You did your time. And with that, I yield the floor. And once again, Teach, thank you for coming aboard.
Thank you. This is an exciting opportunity. I'm always looking for new ventures. And one of the things that I can say is that when you're building a team, you build it with teams of people that you have worked with in the past. And it helps you overcome the challenges because you know who you're working with, you know what you can expect, you know the quality of work that you're going to get out of it. So I thank you for offering me an opportunity to join you all at the Wet Network, and I promise to do my best.
Well, Teach, thank you so very. We got you. We are open to ideas, but we're not gonna let too much of the business go out for everybody else. But other than that, we gotta go. Soul Friday, ladies and gentlemen. You know what it is. Soul Friday. Last Friday we couldn't do it. I was stuck in traffic, but we're gonna do Soul Friday. I think it's gonna be the teacher's first Soul Friday since coming back from Cameroon. So this is gonna be great. Like I said, Beats will be on as well. But other than that, it's time for us to close the show out. Once again, we'd like to thank Cheddar Boy Popcorn for sponsoring the show, and also don't forget to donate to Teach. Um, African Roots and Heritage Foundation is strolling at the bottom. Please donate. $1 goes a long way. Also, if you want us to answer a question or anything, not anything, proper stuff, send to our cash app. Oh, you just like our cash app. Just like us. Just send to our cash app. Well, I just gotta find the right way to point. Our cash app is at the end of our names. Once again, dollar goes a long way. We don't want y'all to send your whole life savings or your whole Christmas savings. Christmas is fast upon us, and we don't want you to have to answer your spouse on why in the world y'all was short and that y'all couldn't get that big screen TV. So can't blame us. So watch how you spend. But other than that, as for Anita Joe, aka Teach, now an owner of the Wet Network, and me, your great host, Donna Alamonte Morris, for tuning into the show. Y'all stay safe out there. Remember, we control the narrative, and we will continue on this conversation on Friday. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, y'all all have a good one. We're outro. Bye.